Hi there, it's the troll. So you've got a problem. The problem is that your Mercedes, and especially if it's a model with W163 design, there's several of those Mercedes that have that. And this would also apply to many other vehicles as well. The solution I'm about to give you, if you have a horn, you've been driving around, and every now and then it starts to honk, just for whatever reason decides to begin to honk, especially if you turn the wheel and it honks. Or sometimes it'll just hook on and start honking blaringly incessantly. Then this is the solution you're looking for. It's not your clock spring. Everybody will say that that could be the problem. No, it's not the problem. The clock spring, if it has a problem, your horn won't work at all. That's what happens with that. So, plus it's a lot larger, more difficult operation to get in there and change out that clock spring. So let me show you what it really is. It has to do with a horn pad. First thing you're going to want to do is, and this is very, very important, you want to unlatch the negative from the ground with the battery. You're going to have to disconnect your battery, and you have to leave it that way for at least 5 minutes, because you don't want to have the airbag blow up in your face and knock you out. So the way we do that is unlatch the battery, and then you're going to need one of these. That right there is a T25 Allen wrench, or a T27 Torx, and it's going to have to be at least that long, just so you know. And you're going to want to round it. Go. This is the airbag right here on the steering wheel, this top section, and that has to be removed. And again, you do not remove it until you've disconnected your battery for at least a couple minutes. If you look on the back here, you'll see there's a detent on either side. And if you go deep enough, you'll be able to feel the wrench make connection with the bolt that's in there. You need to unhook that bolt on both sides. Once you've done that, what you've created is the ability to remove your airbag. When you see, I've already done it. So when you pull it off, the first thing is all these wires will be connected. You're going to need to disconnect them for sure, and it's easy enough to do. There's lots of other videos on here that explain it, but this small one up here goes off of that little piece right there, and this other black one goes off of this guy up here. And these two are color coded, and you can't miss. Pink or magenta and green. And those unlatch from their home spots by simply raising the clip lift lock on both of those and then just popping them out. So I'm just going to put those back out of the way for right now. And you got to very carefully take your airbag, set it aside right now. It's not necessary. We'll put it back later. And here's where the problem is. This area is called the horn pad. And if you were to try to go ahead and change out the clock spring, you'd have to go through and remove the center bolt here, and there's a whole Magilla involved to do that. And then pull the steering wheel off, and then go into the process of changing out your clock spring. But there's other videos that cover that. We're trying to solve the horn honking problem. The reason it honks is, if you take a look, a normal spot on the back of the airbag, if you look on the back, and the top left, top right, bottom left, you'll see those silver area detents. Those are there for a reason. They're metal. And once you press your horn and one of those detents hits either this bolt here, or that nut there, or that one down there, that one down there, or even one in the middle. When it hits one of those 5, it makes contact to the bottom section of this steering wheel assembly, and that causes the horn to go on. The reason you start getting a subtle occasional problem is they're supposed to look like this. Let's look at one up closer there. If you take a real good look at it, it's surrounded by a grommet, which is underneath the nut shaft there. And I'm going to go right over here to the other side, and oh look, that one's been worn away. This has been undone, so I'm going to pull that out so you can see what it's supposed to look like. This is what it looks like, but you see there's no dielectric insulation grommet left on that one. And I'm going to go through, and here I've taken off the bottom one as well. The edge screws, it's an 11 millimeter. 11 millimeter is the size of the top of that shaft. But on any one of those 5, if that shaft is not dielectrically insulated like it's supposed to be, it will automatically be in contact, causing a short into the system, and thus the horn goes on. So we're going to replace those little bits and pieces. So I'm going to go through, as you can see here, I've already loosened a couple of them. Here's one that still has its shaft on there with the insulation. And if you take that insulation off, that little green guy there, it's made of a non-electric conducting material. I'm not even sure what it is. But this one is already beginning to break and wear away. And when they begin to break and wear away, that's why you get these occasional horn honks that you were not expecting out of the blue. Okay, so we're gonna replace that with something you can either order new special little wafers there, little pads, little washers made of non-electric material, or you can do what I did. I'll show you what that is here in a second. I'll set those down. I'm gonna go through and release the rest of these, and then actually what you want to do is you want to replace them all, but leave one on there at least, or 2. I'd say 2. Leave 2, one like down there and one up here, so that the horn pad stays in place. And the springs, you don't have to deal with the springs. There's a spring behind each one of those. Each one of those has a spring. It stays in that position to keep the horn pad away from the base. So let me show you what I've done to make the repair. So here's the situation. When you get in there, you're going to discover that if you look at the bottom of the inside, you'll see all these little pieces of material broken, and that's from the old washer, which is like this one here. And this one's bad. You see it's cracked. And all 5 of these bolts, all 5 of those studs have that dielectric on the shaft to separate it from the outside part of where it would make contact until you press on the horn. So to replace that, you purchase from Ace, at least I did, neoprene washer. It's the same 7 millimeter inside diameter hole. The width is 13.5 millimeters as opposed to the 14 that is, but I find that it's going to be just fine. It'll do the job. And it's the same 1 millimeter thickness that the original was. So get yourself 5 of those. They're like 50 cents a piece. And then put one on each one of those shafts, and then put the shafts back on. Put that up there. Get my 11 millimeter wrench out here. Come on, you can do it. Oh, there we go. And get that started. So I'm now down to one last shaft to replace, and I've done this one down here, the middle one, and the bottom left. When you put those back on and you tighten them down, you don't have to over tighten them, just get them a little bit tack tight. You know, we're talking about maybe 20 inch-pounds, not very much, just a little something to get them on there. The easiest way to take them out and put them on is deep press, like I'm doing here. Pressing the yoke here like this takes the pressure off of the shaft bolts themselves, and you can just, after you've broken them off with your wrench, you can finger tight, put them out, put them in, finger tight, no problem. Okay, having put up all 5 of those newly insulated shafts back into the horn pad, it was now time to just simply take the airbag and hook up the wires just the way they were before the airbag was taken off. Put it up there, and then attach the 2 screws that are in the detent. Back one over here, and one back in there. And with the Torx 27 or Allen 25. It does the job. By the way, those bolts that attach to the airbag, they don't come out all the way. They remain in the assembly. So that's a important note. They won't get lost. They're always there. So you just make sure you hook up all the 2 black wires and the 2 colored wires to the airbag and set it in there in proper position, and carefully screw those in with your tool, and fairly tight, not tremendously tight, just enough that it holds the whole unit together. Now, as I just did a moment ago, go and hook up your battery. And once you get your battery hooked up, you put your keys in and turn on the machine. Oh, it looks like everything's working. And the horn's not blaring at me. That's a good sign. Here's the test. Aha! Success. That's what we're looking for. To make sure you want to get out and drive around, make sure that the steering wheel being in various different positions is still doing the right job, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And so the whole thing cost 5 insulating neoprene 13.5 by outside diameter by 7 inside millimeter diameter, and 1 millimeter thick washers from Ace. 55 cents a piece. So 5 times 55, let's see, what's that come to? It's under $3. So the repair of my horn cost me $3. Well, I think you know that's a success. Hope this helps. Have a great life.